Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the last and final episode of the Consecrated podcast in 2025.
Not the last one ever.
Not the last one ever. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We have much too much to say to stop at this point. But the last one of 2025. That's kind of crazy if you think about it.
That is crazy. And if you're listening to this in the summer of 2028, well, that's welcome to summer.
Or 2037, because our digital footprint is going to be like once you put something online, it's just like
she out there.
Yeah. So happy whatever time you're listening to this, but at the point that we are releasing this, it is literally the last release of 2025.
Look at that.
We made it. Well done. That's what, 9 months in the books?
Something like that.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
Yeah, not too shabby. Yeah, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
He's been helping us.
You're a New Year's person more than I am, though.
I love New Year's.
You do.
Oh, I love New Year's. I honestly, I take any opportunity to like reflect and just, if I can find nice milestones throughout the year that give me an excuse to reflect, I love them. And so New Year's is like the top of the top for those. It's and my birthday is in September. So I've already just done that like 3 months before.
Right.
But like, I'm like, yes.
Another opportunity.
Because, you're just in life, you're moving 1,000,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking the time to like take a step back and really ask yourself, is your life really in alignment with the things that you believe?
Yeah.
Does it reflect the stuff that you believe?
Yeah.
Are you moving the direction that you believe you're supposed to be moving in?
Right.
Because it can be easy to get swept up in stuff that really like just it's not a priority to you.
Yeah.
But it's become a part of your life, and it really shouldn't be. So anyways, I love New Year's. Oh man, it's such a great time to like reset.
And to wake up to see, what am I actually building in my life?
Yeah.
And, like, do I want to keep building it?
Yeah. Oh man, look at me. I'm getting excited for New Year's. I've been like, it's been the grind. The end of the year, I've got so much stuff to have to get done. I haven't really thought about New Year's yet, but now that you got me talking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's even fun to just like, because I love at the end of every year to ask God, okay, what did you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what was this year in your eyes?
Right.
And did it, was it what you were intending, And then, looking forward and what's on your heart for the next year. And then trying throughout the year to remain faithful to what it is that he spoke for that year, It's fun at the end of the year to look back at January's thing, or like, whatever you wrote at the beginning of the year about what Jesus gave you for that year.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, like how much did it really align with what he spoke?
Yeah. Yeah.
And are there adjustments that I ought to make moving into this next year to be more faithful to the stuff that's in his heart, So I'm not just like coasting along doing what I think is right, but I'm actually being faithful to the stuff he gave me from year to year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun fact, I actually also do this like quarterly.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You reflect a lot.
Yeah.
So you don't just wait till your birthday and New Year's. Like you do it a lot.
I try to do it every few months at least.
Yeah.
And look back on the season, the 3 months before, and say, okay, what was that? Do the same practice, And I think it helps to live a life that is more faithful, I think.
Yeah. And more intentional, like it's easy to get caught up and just kind of go on autopilot. But when you're being intentional, looking back and reflecting and then pivoting if you need.
Yeah. Like it's all about making adjustments and doing them quickly.
Yeah.
Like if you're coming off the path a little bit, if there are ways that your life is not reflecting what he spoke, like learn to observe it quickly and move, like adjust, So, I'm excited.
Yeah.
New Year's.
I mean, in terms of holidays, though, it's definitely the JV of all holidays for me.
Yeah, you've never really loved New Year's.
Yeah, it's just kind of mid. I think what it is, I think I just, when you grow up, you become an adult, and holiday cheer is just not as cheerful anymore, like.
Well, you become a part of like putting on the cheer.
Yeah.
Rather than like
and you're
participating in the cheer
okay,
that was put
so
on.
it's not actually just magic that happens.
Yeah.
But also
you make the magic happen.
You do.
Yeah.
And if you don't make the magic happen, there's no magic.
And
it's
no
just
magic.
It's just mid.
Yeah.
And I think it's honestly because when we were younger, remember we used to go to church for New Year's and everyone would light candles.
That was actually special, yeah.
Yeah, it was so special. And then there was a period we did that, and then there was a period where we go to IHOP. And we'd spend the end of the year at IHOP, and then they stopped doing
IHOP
that.
is not pancakes. IHOP is International House of Prayer. It's a ministry in Kansas City.
International House of Prayer instead of the pancake place. I've actually never been to the pancake place.
I have. It's pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there was a period when they stopped putting on the conference at the end of the year, and that was right when I was hitting adulthood. So it was like an absolute fall off of anything magical. And I was like, oh, this holiday is so mid. But I also do the reflecting thing. And it's cool to see, the journals that I do at the beginning of the year, praying with the Lord into what's coming.
Yeah.
And then looking at the end of the year and seeing, okay, did this line up with what he wanted? Did I have too much of my own image and expectation put on what he wanted?
Yeah.
That part is for sure good. And I do love that part. And same for me, like my birthday's in September, so it feels like I'm doing it more frequently towards the end of the year. Yeah. But in terms of the holiday, listen, I'm willing to be proven wrong. If someone wants to come and incorporate magic back into my New Year's, I'm willing to be proven wrong. But at this point in time, middle, JV.
Dang.
Yeah. Hey, but maybe there will be redemption coming. Maybe.
And, for me, it's not really about like the magic of the holiday.
Yeah. For you, it's the reflection.
Yeah. I could be in a cave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like something feels different on that last day. I can't describe it. It's like, this is the end of one thing.
I mean, it's the closing of a chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that was just a crazy pivot, Fedhii. What are we talking about today? Let's go back to topic.
I was almost going to take that pivot even further.
Really?
I was about to keep going, but we'll circle back. I'll just really quickly. I think generally we don't actually do a very good job of like marking milestones. Okay, think about this, right? This is unrelated completely to the subject of conversation for today. But take this for example, right? When you're growing up, there are a lot of baked in milestones. There are milestones every year as you move through school. There's the end of first grade, then the second grade, so on and so forth. End of elementary school, end of middle school. There's graduation from high school. Right. There's entrance into college if you're going to college. And then there's graduation from college. You know what I mean? There's like, and then maybe a little bit later on, there's a wedding. And then so there are these baked in like life milestones, okay, which tend to be very much packed in. It's like the first quarter of your life. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
If there are going to be milestones after that you like celebrate, it has to be from you.
Yeah.
Like you have to be I've realized like I need to actually generate the energy to mark the end of one thing and then the start of the next thing. Yeah. And so, because a lot of times it can really feel like everything sort of just blends together if you don't do that well enough. Yeah. And it's like you're just sort of moving from one day and month to year to the next. And like it's just one soup of the same thing. Yeah. And sometimes walking with the Lord, like there can be seasons that he clearly marks and says, okay, now we're starting something new. But if you'll partner with him in it, like he'll speak to you about week after week. He'll speak to you, all right, this month is what I have for you. Not that he moves by our calendar, but like, you can have vision for the smaller stuff, and it can help you to really like be intentional about what that time is meant to be. I'm a student right now. I'm a, 5th grader. I'm a 10th grader. All right. I just finished 9th grade. I'm moving into 10th grade and this is what I'm doing. I'm a 10th grader, you know, and like that gives you a certain way to think about that time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyways, we can talk about that another time. I
was thinking we need to just have a segment titled just the intro of us yapping. Yaps. And every beginning of our podcast is always just yaps.
It's funny because I never know what we're actually going to talk about. But
no, we just press record and then we yap. And then we're like, wait, this is not what we started this for. What did God put on your heart for the last episode of 2025?
Yes. Okay. This is going to be a good one. I'm excited for this.
Okay.
So I had an encounter that I'm going to share. Mm-hmm. And then after I share, we'll kind of break it up into kind of chunks and then point out and pull out certain things from each chunk. Okay.
Okay.
Before I share it, this is a message for people who feel like their faith is being tested. Okay. So ask yourself, is my faith being tested? Mm-hmm. Okay. If the answer to that question is yes, then this message is for you.
Great. This message is for me.
If it's not, then you can listen to another one or still listen to it and just
enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride and maybe try to remember these things later on when your faith is tested. Okay. Here's the encounter. Ready? Mm-hmm. All right. I saw a group of people who had been given to a time of testing. It was almost like a gathering of people, but they weren't actually in the same place, but they were in the same season. Mm-hmm. And it was as though these that were in the same season of testing were gathered together. Okay, so not physically in the same place, but I saw a company of people which were in the same season. Okay. And I saw, as I looked at them, I saw their interactions with heaven. And as I looked on this group, I noticed that their words and their actions in faith, while in a season of testing, were producing treasures out of thin air. Okay? These treasures were moving up from these individuals towards heaven. And I saw that these faithful ones under trial were filling heaven with the fruits of their acts and words in faith during their seasons of trial. And as these treasures were going up through almost what looked like channels from earth to heaven that were being used to carry these treasures up into heaven, the place that they were being dropped off in heaven was causing a stir. Okay, so imagine there are these channels from earth to heaven and these treasures moving up through these channels into heaven and being dropped off in heaven. Okay, and in the places that they were being dropped off, it was creating a stir. And I looked and I saw the citizens of heaven, and they were turning and looking at what looked like these fountains of treasures coming up from the earth and landing in heaven. Now I saw, as I was looking on, that the citizens of heaven would come together and crowd around and look over what appeared to be balconies onto the earth, looking at these individuals which were producing the treasures. Producing the treasures that, producing them by their acts and words in faith during trial, and these treasures were showing up in heaven. So these citizens of heaven were showing up, looking at down these balconies, looking at these individuals, watching them as it was like this factory of treasures was being shipped up to heaven as a result of their acts and their words. Okay? Now I went and I joined them in this encounter. As I was looking on, I went and I joined them at the balcony, and I looked down and I saw one individual at that balcony that I stood at. And I saw one individual, and he was a man. And this man had what appeared to be a spiritual body, which was standing before his physical body, facing it. Okay? And his spiritual body was fighting and swinging at his flesh. Now, this individual was clearly acting out of the desire and intention of his spirit rather than out of his flesh. And the spirit, which was fighting his flesh, was clearly a partner to heaven. And in the encounter, the only way that I can describe it is the spirit was like wearing the robes of heaven, or like had the fragrance of heaven. It was like the same thing that I saw on and around the people in heaven, I saw on the spirit of this man, which was fighting his flesh.
And this man was still alive on earth.
This man was on the earth. Okay. So his spirit was clearly a partner to heaven. Now, his actions resulted in fruit that showed up in his home camp, which was heaven. So he belongs to a team. He's fighting on behalf of that team. And the fruits of his victories on the earth were showing up with his team in heaven. That's kind of what it looked like, okay? And then I heard the Lord say, this is how you win in trials. Okay? And then I saw what looked like rows of trophies that had been lined up and placed on shelves. And these trophies belonged to this man. Okay? Then I looked over at the man again, and I saw his spirit, which was victorious over his flesh. And his spirit looked like a warrior which had subjected himself to the dominion and rule of another government. Then I looked again at his flesh. So I'm kind of looking back and forth between his spirit and his flesh. I look over at his flesh, and his flesh was shriveled up. It was flesh and bones. It had no strength, for it had not been fed. Then the Lord directed my attention toward what appeared to be a cohort, like a legion. It was this large army. It was a large gathering of individuals who were all victorious and had persevered in their seasons of trial. These ones wore what appeared to be royal robes. And one looked at me, a woman, she appeared to be like a woman, and she looked at me and she said, "Come and join us." So I walked over to her and I followed her to what seemed to be like her home, like the place where she dwelled. And I looked and I saw, when I walked into her place, I saw what appeared to be a grave in her dwelling place. In the middle of her, what looked like a sort of a living room, there was an open grave. And in the grave had been laid a body. And I walked over to the grave, which was open. I looked down and I saw a body which resembled the person that had invited me, the very woman I had followed into the room. And looking at the body, it was evident that it was a representation of the desires that that woman had. Now, this body had been completely disconnected from the spirit of the woman who had spoke to me and walked me into this house. And when I looked at the woman, she lived in victory. She had this victorious spirit and air about her. And then she looked at me and she said, "Now take off your suit." And so I stood there and I looked at her, not knowing how to proceed. And she motioned with her finger like this, like, "Hurry up," turning her finger in the air like this. "Hurry up, hurry up." And it was with an urgency it was as though there was some army approaching, closing in on her front door, and we had to move quickly. That was the feeling. So I agreed and I took the suit off. And as I was peeling the suit off of me, it felt as though hundreds of pounds had been removed from my shoulders. And as I was being separated from the suit, I looked and I saw that the suit was actually waging war on me. Observing this, I moved with great urgency to remove the suit fully from me. And then I looked at her and she said, "Give it to me." And she reached her hand out, wearing something that would keep her from being contaminated by grabbing the suit that I just took off. And then she said, "Sit here," pointing to a love seat, which was right next to her. So I went and I sat. And as I sat, immediately as I touched the love seat, I felt some sort of energy or like this force of life rolling over my mind. And it was undoing ways of thinking that I had adopted as a result of the suit that I had been wearing. After a time of sitting in the seat, I felt strengthened. I stood up, and the woman handed me a pair of gloves that resembled the ones that she was wearing when she took the suit that I gave to her. "Now go and remove it from others," she said to me. And then I looked around, and I was no longer in the living room, but I was now in the army that I had seen before. And that was the end of the encounter.
The army who was on earth.
The army this army, whether they were on earth or in heaven, I don't know. But this was the victorious army, the one wearing royal robes that had been victorious in their seasons of trial on the earth. Wow. Okay. So that was the encounter. Mm-hmm. There's a very specific message that I think the Lord is looking to communicate in this. Okay. There are two major things that you could pull out of this. I'm not going to spend that much time on the first one. I think he wants to spend more time on the second. Okay. But I'll mention the first one before we move on to the second. The first is that first part of the encounter that I described was a people who were in a season of trial. Okay? The Word of God tells us very clearly that when we encounter trials on the earth, we should not be surprised as though something strange were happening to us. Mm-hmm. That's what it says in Peter, right? Mm-hmm. These individuals that were in their season of trial, it was not as though something strange or unusual was happening to them. Okay, it was like, imagine a woman who was pregnant and then she entered into labor. That would not be a strange thing if she had come upon 9 months, if she was full term, and then she entered into labor. Mm-hmm. You would say, yes, that's what's supposed to happen. That's normal, right? Mm-hmm. These people entering into their season of trials was not an unusual or abnormal thing. Mm-hmm. It was to be expected. Jesus even says to Peter, Peter, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you, not that you would not be sifted or tested, but that when tested, your faith would not fail. Mm-hmm. Okay? This experience of our faith being tested is part of the experience of living on the earth, mm-hmm. and to be expected. Yeah. Okay? But that's not the message that I think God is looking to communicate today. As you can tell, that was a 1% to 5% of the encounter that I had was seeing people in their season of trial. 95% had to do with what do you do while you're in trial so that you come out on top. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I want to talk about the experience of taking the suit off. Okay?
The suit is
the suit was my flesh. The suit was my version of the woman in the grave that I saw in that room. Hmm. Like that would have been laid in the grave in my living room if you walked into my living room. Yeah. Okay. When I peeled the suit off of me, that was the turning point. Hmm. Okay? That was the turning point in my experience. At first, I was an observer, looking upon people who had been victorious in their own journeys, in their own trials, in their seasons of trial. I was watching and observing the behavior of those who were winning. Yeah. Okay? The moment that I joined their team, the pivotal moment where everything shifted for me was when I took off my suit. Hmm. And what it caused me to do was it caused me to become aware. It was a changing of teams, basically. Mm-hmm. I changed teams in that moment. Mm-hmm. Didn't I say that when I looked upon the first man, I saw his spirit standing in front of his flesh, and I saw his spirit waging war on his flesh, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. I said that the spirit of this man appeared to be on the same team as heaven. Whatever I saw on him, I saw on the people in heaven. Mm-hmm. It was evident that they were together. They were on one. They came from one base, one team. Yeah. Right. The moment that I took the suit off of me was the moment that I changed teams. I began to see this was one of the first things that happened when I, quote unquote, changed teams. The way that I saw was dramatically changed. And the first thing that I saw, my perception, my vantage point was the first thing that changed. And the first thing I observed from my new vantage point was that the suit that I was taking off of me was waging war on me. It was actually causing me to become subject. It was weakening me. Like it was in the vision of the first man. There was the spirit and there was the flesh. And it was clear that the man was living out of and moving from his spirit. And his flesh had been starved as a result, and it was weakened, right? Now, it was clear as the suit was coming off of me that the same thing that had happened to the flesh of this man, the suit was causing to happen to me, my spirit, right? It was looking to weaken and starve me. So when I saw that, I moved with even more urgency to remove the suit from me so that I would not, it was like a poisonous thing that I was removing from myself so that I would not die as it was trying to make me die. It was actually looking to kill me.
Yeah.
Okay. So that shift in perspective, there are so many things that we could get into here, but let's start with the shift in perspective that happens, okay? I will tell you that it would not have been possible for me to join the winning team had I kept the suit on, okay? When the woman looked at me and said, come and join us, right? The first thing that she did was she took me into the living room and began to help me peel the suit off of me. That was the first thing. It was like, there is no entrance into this victorious army which does not start with you taking your suit off.
Yeah.
And take it off immediately. It was, I wish I could convey to you the urgency with which she spoke to me. It was like, I was in a movie and like there were people who were seeking to harm us that were going to show up at the door. Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Never seen it.
Okay. Well, I have partially seen it. And the reason I say partially is because it's always on in the background whenever I'm watching it. And I never pay attention to the point where I'm like, actually, oh, this is what Lord of the Rings is about. So I'm going to try to talk to you about one part of Lord of the Rings. And if what I'm saying is super off, then I'm going to try to watch it in the next couple of months and hopefully I can correct myself. But here is, in the Lord of the Rings, if an individual wore the ring, it was like the location of the person wearing the ring became clear to the enemy. And so they would have to take it off pretty quickly. It's like, no, you can't wear this too long because there's an enemy that's seeking this ring. Because if it gets the ring, the enemy gets very powerful and we can't let the enemy.
What's the point of wearing the ring?
Well, the ring gave you power.
Oh, yeah. So it was at a cost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So for me, wearing the suit, it was like there was this army of death that was going to show up at our door because I was wearing now something which belonged to them. It was like they were closing in on us because I was wearing the suit and I had to take it off and I had to do so urgently. This was the center of the encounter. Yeah. The moment of me taking the suit off was the heart of the entire thing that God was trying to communicate in this. This was the turning point. This was the cornerstone of the encounter.
Yeah.
Now, the scriptures talk about waging war on the flesh and the flesh waging war on your soul. Okay, so the scriptures paint this dynamic of the two being in a battle. Okay. Now, my having any chance at victory in the war against the flesh requires that I see from a different vantage point. Okay?
Yeah.
When I looked in at that woman who was dead, her body dead in a grave, when I looked in, I saw it looked, like I said, it would look like the even though physically it represents this woman, it looked like the representation of all of these desires that the woman had. And looking at the individual desires, I remember seeing the desires. And I was almost like pulled into them as I was watching, like looking down on this body. And it did not seem wrong, the things that she wanted. Now, these were things that were tied to the earth, but didn't seem like inherently bad that she wanted these things. And they also seemed like they were very intricately tied with the woman that she was. Okay? Like it was like these were deep desires of hers. And had she chosen to identify with that woman, the body which had been bound up with the desires of this life, she would not have had any chance at coming out victorious in this season of trial and of testing. Okay. So here's what the Lord is looking to communicate, I believe, in that. Every action that you take is going to be in the direction of your spirit, which has given itself over to Jesus, or in the direction of your flesh, which is bound to the things of this world. And those two things are at war with one another.
Yeah.
Okay? The word talks about putting to death the desires of the flesh.
Yeah.
These two things cannot coexist.
Yeah.
You will lose if you are both feeding your flesh and feeding your spirit.
Yeah.
The victorious man was the man that was like destroying his flesh over and 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 over again. And I think that ultimately this man would have actually ended up in the army. I didn't see him in the army, but I think he would have ended up in the army. His flesh was still alive, though it was shriveled up. And it was weak because it had not been fed. The people that I saw in the army, it was like they carried a grave. I don't know how to describe this. It was like they carried a grave with them wherever they went. And this grave, it was like they carried a tombstone with them, a tombstone. Their flesh was dead. Their flesh was literally dead.
Yeah.
Okay? And the representation of the death of their flesh, they carried around with them everywhere they went. They were unbound. You know how the word says, where Jesus says, this world, darkness has nothing in me? These people, as I looked at them, they were unbound. It was so clear that they were not bound by the things of this world. Literally, their flesh had died. And it's true, because when you look at the scriptures, how often is it telling us, exhorting us to kill the flesh?
Yeah. It tells us daily.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just read a few passages to get this point across. Ready? Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. So I say walk by the... There's too many. You're going to just listen. Yeah. Galatians 5:16. So I say walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. Romans chapter 7, verse 22. For in my inner being I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work in me. Romans chapter 8, verse 5. Those who live according to the flesh set their mind on the things of the flesh. But those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. For to set your mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. And the mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11. Beloved, I urge you, as sojourners and exiles, to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your soul. James chapter 4, verse 1. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, put on the whole armor of God, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers, the spiritual forces of, later it says, the spiritual forces of evil. Colossians chapter 3, verse 5, put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you. And then Romans chapter 13, verse 14, put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provisions for the flesh to gratify its desires. Okay? So, what an interesting thing for Jesus to say to people who are in a period of trial, isn't it?
Yeah.
For him to get my attention and say, I want to speak to the people who are in a season of being tested. And then for his message to be, kill your flesh, is not a message that I would have expected. Okay? And I wonder if the reason that he starts there is to say your battle will become dramatically different if you kill your flesh. Like, I wonder, had I stayed with this woman in the encounter, would there have been more that she would have spoken to me or showed me after having joined this victorious army to remain victorious? I wonder if the experience of being under trial, if in that experience you go from the losing team to the winning team by having just done this one thing. And I say just as though it's not a difficult thing to do. I mean, in some ways it's not. I mean, Paul talks about, he says, wretched man that I am, in one of those chapters that we read. You know, he is groaning inwardly over his condition, having been torn apart, feeling and experiencing these two, flesh and spirit, at war and waging war against each other. I mean, it's called war for a reason, right? It's not to say that this is a light or easy thing, but it is to say that the key to success, to go from the losing team to the winning team, is for you to realize that the faster you die, the faster you win. Hurry up and die. There's one person that says often, one preacher says, hurry up and die. Hurry up and die. Hurry up and die. So it's not to say that the difficulty of these trials, now again, when I saw all these people, they were not suffering for the same reason. The nature of their trials were different. The only thing that was similar about them was that they were each in their own season of trials. Okay? So the thing that God says to one may vary from the thing that he says to another to strengthen them. But speaking to a person whose spirit has won and is victorious over their flesh is going to be very different than speaking to the person who is still grappling with their flesh. Step one is die. If you are in a season of fiery trial, step one, die. Kill your flesh. Let your flesh die. And carry with you a token to remind yourself of the fact that you have died. You don't live anymore. And now, the team who you serve, another team, you're not serving yourself anymore. You're serving another. And the fruit, the stuff that you produce here on the earth, coming from that place of faith while in fiery trial, shows up with your home team. Be encouraged. You may not see on the earth. You might not see every single outcome of your words and your actions from a place of faith while you are persevering in a season of trial. You might not see them with your own eyes, but there are being laid up for you treasures in heaven with your home team as citizens of heaven. The great cloud of witnesses are watching these memorials rise up from the earth, up before God as a result of your faith on the earth while being steadfast under trial. You don't see them with your eyes, but they are seen. You don't see them, but others do see them. God sees them, and the great cloud of witnesses see them. Okay? And there is something that is rising up to heaven as a result of your obedience and your beating down the flesh as you are under this state of fiery trial.
Yeah.
Something is happening, though you see it or not. And if you feel like you're losing, this is the main message I believe Jesus is trying to get across right now. If you feel like in your season of fiery trial, you are losing, visit these scriptures that talk about killing the flesh. I just listed off 8 passages that have to do with your battle being this war. You feel like you're losing? I'll tell you what your battle is.
Yeah.
There is a war that is going on inside of you right now between spirit and flesh.
Yeah.
Feed your spirit. Do not gratify the desires of your flesh. Strengthen yourself in the Lord and kill your flesh. You will find yourself on the winning team, and you will continue to fight against this flesh until it shrivels up and it dies. And now this life that you live on earth, you will live by faith in the one who loved you and gave himself up also for you. That is the victorious life.
Yeah.
The life in which you have died and now you live for Jesus. That's the one in which you win. Okay? Now, I want to come back to this fact that when Jesus spoke to Peter, Jesus, having been high priest, having been tempted with the same temptations that we are tempted on the earth, he is equipped to be the high priest. Though he is sinless. He has been tempted, but he was sinless and remains without sin, right?
Yeah.
He, being a high priest, constantly making intercession on our behalf, perceived and saw and observed that the enemy was looking to test Peter. He saw it. Being high priest, he saw the enemy is looking to test one of my followers, Peter. And he gets before the Father and he says to him, Father, I pray that Peter's faith would not fail. What is he saying? I want his spirit to come out and prevail. I want him to win. I want him to be victorious. Do not pull him out of the fight. Do not take them out of this world.
Yeah.
But I cause him to become victorious. Do not allow his faith to fail. The man that I was watching who was battling, I don't know why I call him Mitchell in my head. He looked like a Mitchell. I don't know why. It seemed as if he was a Mitchell to me. Okay?
Yeah.
This Mitchell, he was fighting and his actions were from faith. How can I describe this to you? They were from faith. He was operating from faith. He was speaking in faith. He was acting in faith. His behavior had a basis, which was faith. The things that he was doing came from a place of faith, okay? As he was fighting and winning, I told you there were rows of trophies on shelves lined in heaven. As a result of his victories on the earth, he was moving from faith, okay? His prayer, Jesus' prayer, was that Peter's faith would not fail. As Peter leaned into his spirit and fed not his flesh. Now, there are moments where you see him feeding his flesh, right?
Yeah.
There are moments where, being afraid of the perception of men, he denies the Holy One of God,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He fed his flesh and wept bitterly as a result. His prayer was that he would not feed the flesh. His prayer was that his faith would not fail, that he would move from a place of faith, remain in faith, and in doing so win. So, here's my exhortation. My exhortation is, do you find yourself in a place where you are under fiery trial? Question number 1. Question number 2, have you died? The appearance of those in this victorious army, they had an air of victory to them. I mean, they were, when I looked at the woman, just the woman alone, forget the army all being victorious, just one individual, she had the spirit of victory radiating from her. She was completely victorious.
Wow.
And the key to her victory was her death. She had died. Do you find yourself in a place where you are in fiery trial? And have you died? Or are you dying? And if you do not find that you are dead or that you are currently dying, then search the scriptures, get before God and ask him, say, God, for too long I have fed something which is waging war against my soul. And I find that I'm losing. I have been feeding something that is killing me. And now I feel as though I'm dying. Help me. Help me to die. And such prayers are the prayers that get answered. So, do not be surprised when you encounter trials of various kinds. Don't be surprised as though something strange or unusual were happening to you. But allow them to become for you invitations to die.
Yeah.
Reminders that if you're dead, the experience is a lot different.
Yeah.
The experience is that of a victor. And to tell you of the encouragement of the people, the citizens of heaven, as they rallied, as they crowded around these balconies and looked down. Those were the heroes, the people that they were looking at. They were looking down at heroes.
There was a recent episode that we recorded on trials and suffering. That was so good, so heat. If you have not listened to that episode, recommend that you go listen to that. But in that episode, you talked about trials and suffering in a little bit of a different way. But the main thing that stuck with me because in this, I would say I'm in a period of my faith being tested. I mean, you know, the things that I'm walking through right now. I feel like I'm in a period of my faith being tested. And I can feel as different things come at me, how it's an opportunity for me to continue to let my flesh die. Like I can actually feel when things come at me, am I going to choose to feed my flesh? Or am I going to choose in another layer to let my flesh die? And am I going to, be a woman of my word and say and follow faith, or am I going to follow my flesh? But one of the things that you said that helped me kind of swallow the pill of dying more was this idea that if every layer of trial that comes at me is just so that I can become a resting place for the Son of Man to lay his head, you're saying you're victorious because you're having treasures in heaven. People are like the witnesses in heaven are looking at you as victorious. Like you're saying all those benefits, but I mean on before we're even in heaven, before we're even with the victorious people, before we're even able to walk into our houses and see all the treasures lined up. Even on this side of heaven, the idea that everything that comes at me is an opportunity. If I take it as an opportunity to die, the Son of Man can dwell in me more fully. Makes it feel all the more worth it. It makes to be honest, doesn't take away the pain of dying, because dying is painful. Like it doesn't make the pain it doesn't make the pain go away. But it gives me something to look at, as I'm dying. It on this side of heaven. Yes, there are things waiting for us on the other side of heaven. But on this side of heaven, it gives me something to look at. That, okay, I can take this pain, right? Like I can swallow this light and momentary affliction if it means as I'm continuing to walk on this earth, Jesus can dwell in me more fully. And that is what I was created for. That's how I was created to live. And that makes every opportunity of dying, yes, while painful, gives me something to look at while I'm dying. Because that's what I was put on this earth for, But I do want to acknowledge that dying is the harder choice, right? Like it is harder. It is painful. Like I acknowledge your flesh is squirming. Like it is a hard thing to do. But for the joy set before him, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. For the joy of intimacy with him, I endure the dying.
Yeah.
Because it's all worth it. There's no other life apart from him,
Come on.
And feeding our flesh is only this like momentary, transient thing.
That actually leads to death.
That
eventually ends, as the scriptures say, in death.
Yeah.
That's the end result.
Yeah. So it in the moment feels satisfactory.
Yeah.
But then actually
it's poison.
Yeah.
It's killing you.
Yeah. You read this in the last episode. I don't know if you read this in the last episode. I actually don't remember. I'm going to take that back. But I'm being reminded of a passage in 2 Corinthians. I think you read it. I don't know. 2 Corinthians 4:16. So we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away. Our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal.
Bingo.
So we do not lose heart. I love when Fedhii's fired up. This was a fired up Fedhii episode, and I love fired up Fedhii episodes.
Oh man, it's like if you could only see it from the other side, Like one of the blessings of this encounter was like seeing it at least partially from the other side, you know? Because when you're on the other side, you don't see like, I've just made another decision out of faith.
Yeah.
I've chosen the way of the Spirit again and then again and then again and again. And though you might feel as though something is building in you, you don't always perceive, like it's saying, like it's very easy to look to the things that are seen.
Yeah.
Oh, but what a focus that gives you when you understand you're creating a resting place for the King of Glory inside of you.
Yeah.
With every yes, you're laying the mat for this glorious one to extend further into the corners of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he can more comfortably live within you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're making space in the living room of your being.
Yeah.
And as you let him in more, he asks to take more things out. And maybe while painful, because you have attachment to certain furniture that's in your living room.
Yeah.
As each thing is being removed out of you, he's taking up more space.
Yeah. I had the Lord corrected me one time. I remember I was at the gym. This is a few years ago, and I was having this conversation with him about him being the Lord of my life. And there was a lot that was being unpacked in me around what happens when he's really the Lord of your life. And it's sort of like there are things that are not allowed to come against you. And there are a lot of things that change when Jesus becomes the Lord of your life. And I was just asking, I was like, okay, wow, this is great. Like, are you really the Lord of my life? Is this true? I've been walking with him for decades or whatever, but it's just, are you really the Lord of my life? And he showed me in my inner world a throne, and he was seated on that throne. It was a big throne. Mm-hmm. And he was seated on that throne, but the room was frigid. And there was a leak, drip, drip, in the corner, and it was dark. And it was like, Narnia, like the witch's lair.
I love that movie. Yeah.
Like the witch's lair.
Yeah.
You walk in and she's like kind of on that throne.
Yeah.
It's like that, but
and it's really cold.
It's cold. Yeah. It was like darker, know? And I was like, oh gosh. And what he was saying was like, yes, but it's not that comfortable for me in here.
Wow.
And I repented immediately. I was like, God, whatever we need to do to transform that space that you are seated, enthroned in. It's not enough for you to be enthroned. I have to become a resting place for you.
Yeah.
A place where you are pleased to dwell. We talk often about how the fullness of God was pleased to dwell in Jesus.
Yeah.
Not only did he dwell in Jesus, the fullness of God was pleased to dwell in Jesus.
Yeah.
Now make me a place where you are pleased to dwell.
Yeah. It's funny that we started this episode yapping about how whenever like the new year comes, it gives you time to kind of step back and look and reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like dying does that for you too. Because you have an opportunity when presented with, are you going to die? Like you were presented with a trial and you can either die or choose the way of your flesh. Like it's an opportunity for you to reflect and say, okay, am I choosing to build a better resting place for the Lord? Am I choosing to live out my faith?
Yeah.
Am I choosing to be a woman that walks by the Spirit and to be someone that's yielded to God and walk on this earth yielding to God?
Yeah.
And you can like reevaluate, or am I going to choose my flesh and just choose to live a nominal life, go through the motions, do the job, do what you have to do. Every opportunity of trial kind of presents you with every trial presents you with the opportunity of reflection of, okay, am I going to keep dying so that he can have a greater place of dwelling within me that's warm and that's not frigid and he can do miraculous things with my life?
Right.
Or am I going to choose to hold on to my flesh and live a nominal life?
Yeah, it's a fork every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Which do you and they build on each other.
Yeah.
The next decision builds on the last.
Yeah. I've learned that too, that as I continue to take steps into dying, each step requires more dying as I step further into dying.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a process of dying.
Yeah.
And as I take a step into dying, every next act of faith that I do kills something in me even more.
Yeah.
And I have to die even more as I keep going.
Flesh continues to shrivel.
Yeah.
And shrivel and shrivel. But there's a momentum that builds, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I am one that lives by the Spirit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do not gratify the desires of the flesh.
Yeah.
I live by the Spirit. And there's a momentum that builds with each decision. Right?
And as you go further that way, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
As you go further into the realm of dying and living by faith, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
But that's the first initial like 10 steps that are like, this hurts.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. Yeah.
And a lot of times it keeps hurting. But like I said, it's not because it doesn't hurt that you choose it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is who I am.
Yeah. It's out of love for him.
Yeah. This is, of course.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, pray for us before our camera dies.
Hallelujah for a new camera.
Thank you, Lord.
Jesus.
Our camera heard us talking about dying, so it said, okay, let me go ahead and die.
Yeah. Obedience. I like it. Thank you, Lord. We love you. I ask you, God, that you would bring us to the place of our flesh having been shriveled up and that it would die.
Yes.
Lord, I ask you that you would strengthen and encourage people who are in a place of a fiery trial right now. Help illuminate to them what difference does dying make in a place of fiery trial? What difference does that make? And why is your invitation to us today that if we are in a place of trial, that we should die? And help us to die, Jesus.
Yeah.
Help us to die. Cause us to become one of those victorious ones who has put to death the desires of the flesh and ones that live by the Spirit alone.
Yes.
We love you so much.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Peace out. And
Amen.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, depending on when you're watching this
Yeah.
or listening to this.
Die quickly
And daily.
and daily. Here's to dying. And I want a camera to die right when I say that. Here's to dying. Nope. Here's to dying. Okay, well, it doesn't want to die.
Yeah, but it will die.
It will die if we keep going. So we love you guys. And we will see you in the new year if you're watching this real time. If you're watching this in 2028, I hope you're having a great year. Either way.
Bye.
Bye.